Welcome to the Moonflower Path podcast. This space is for the highly sensitive, the creatives, the earth-loving, the caregivers, the weirdos, the feelers, the change makers, and dreamers of the world. Here, we are all about guiding you to trust your body intuition so you can find home and shift culture. Through the exploration of somatic practice, self-care, and seasonal ritual, my hope is that you will be inspired to be in harmony with yourself and in a dance with the earth. I'm your host, Carolyn, and I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you today. Hello, lovely listener, and welcome back to the pod. If you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, I'd encourage you to give it a listen because it will offer you insight on how we might define somatic practice, self-care, and ritual, and how it might serve you as a magical feeler. Today, I'd like to talk about the need for comfort and safety when exploring the vulnerability in somatic practice. Moving your body might not always feel like the most natural thing to do. If you've been convinced to ignore your body, that your body is something to be shameful of, or if your relationship with your body has been fraught with painful moments. So firstly, I'd like to say, your experience is valid. At all times, you are your best guide. And anytime you're being told by a movement teacher to move your body in a certain way and it brings up some stuff that feels uncomfortable and unbearable, you have full permission to stop and do what you need to do to feel safe. Safety and comfort, first and foremost, are the ways that I personally help promote a healing environment for myself and for my students to be able to nurture that body relationship. So I know that today's episode will be a helpful one for you. It's going to be a very practical one for you as I share with you 5 of my tips on creating safety and comfort within your somatic practices. Learning to trust your own internal wisdom, your body's wisdom, for the first time in spaces and environments where you don't feel safe is incredibly challenging and potentially harmful. So let's use an example. Supporting your body, i.e. creating a collaborative relationship with your body off of your mat, could look like taking 3 deep breaths to calm your nerves in the middle of a challenging conversation. The fear here, though, could be that the person you're having a conversation with rolls their eyes or says you're being ridiculous or asks you to hurry up, causing your nervous system to get into high alert because someone getting angry with you could cause your mind to think that there is danger imminent. So to do something that could feel like honoring yourself when your mind doesn't have the tools yet to know it's safe to do so could be pretty overwhelming for your nervous system. So instead, we start in practice. And again, I'd like to remind you that somatic practice, I'm not only talking yoga, right? Just because I'm a yoga teacher, I'm talking anything that encompasses connecting to your body, feeling safe and at home in your body, which can be as wide a net as meditation practice, your creative practices, being outside in nature. Like there's many different things that apply here. But really, we start in practice. We take those 3 deep breaths during a particularly challenging practice, a challenging moment within the practice, and see that nothing bad happened because of that break you took, because of those 3 deep breaths you took. Your body stayed grounded. You were in the comfort of your home or in the space that you practice. The world didn't fall apart because you took that momentary pause. You are safe. And if anything, not only do you feel safe, but you might even feel better. So practicing moving your body in ways that are supportive and collaborative in the safety of your practice when your nervous system is in optimal arousal, meaning in its ideal state, in the parasympathetic nervous system, can help create pathways in your body that honoring your body when you're out and about in the world is also safe. So how do we actually do that? Well, I'd like to go through a list of 5 things that I do that have come from the teachings of yoga and nervous system regulation and have now become default tools in how I teach and how I myself support my practice in general. I'd like to be clear here that these tips are meant to support your self-care practices. Remember what I talked about in the previous episode. So these things that you do on a regular basis to help anchor, practice new lessons, and solidify a certain exploration or a certain commitment or dedication that you're making to yourself, to your body, to your heart, to your spirit. So number 1, create boundaries around your space. When you decide to step onto your mat or sit on your meditation cushion or pull out your journal or your sketchbook or whatever, there's no way you're going to be able to actually dive in if you're constantly getting distracted. And of course, there's a certain level of distraction that's okay, right? Like, and that's something that you can establish. But in my own experience, if there are people coming into the room that you're in, it can cause stress in your body depending on your level of comfort with the people that are coming in. If you're getting notifications on your phone, even just the sound or seeing the notification on the screen can invite in thoughts and emotions around responsibility and things you need to do, which takes you out of a place of caring for yourself and being intimate with yourself. Creating boundaries around your space might look like closing the door and vocalizing that the door does not get opened, or putting your phone on airplane mode, or stepping out of the house to go to a place in nature you know you feel calm in. This kind of is like this step before even making your actual space a sacred one. Which brings me to number 2, setting up your space. Some of the things that help soothe the nervous system are softness, spaciousness, and serene settings. It can be pretty hard to focus on your breath for the first time in forever if the space that you're in is a hella distraction. There is also a privilege in having a completely separate space in your house dedicated to self-care. So that's not what I'm saying here. But what I am saying is wherever you do choose to practice your self-care, how might you make it feel soft, spacious, and serene in the ways you know you can in that moment? Some folks in my classes, it's a matter of vacuuming the space that you're in before class, even if where they practice is in the middle of their living room. So make it work for you. Number 3, acknowledging the space that you're in. So once you've set the space up in your own way, before you move through any somatic practice that will ask of you to dive into your internal experience, usually the invitation is to close the eyes, right? You've probably heard that many times at the very beginning of any sort of like mindful movement or meditative practice. But even if you're like at the beginning of a creative practice, right? You're about to sit down and you're really wanting to dedicate yourself to learning a new knitting pattern or whatever. There's this invitation to kind of check in with yourself. Well, that isn't always a comfortable thing to do if you haven't actually taken the time to acknowledge your external environment first. Closing the eyes can diminish our ability to take in our surroundings. And when you find yourself in a state of heightened sympathetic arousal, i.e. when you're in your sympathetic fight or flight mode, a lack of control around safety isn't helpful. So take in your surroundings. Feel the support of the earth below you. Notice the texture of the 4 walls that surround you. Sense into the comfort of the roof above your head. And soak in the smells and the sounds in your space. These are all also simple tools in practicing presence, which is in and of itself a somatic practice. Then you might feel comfortable to close the eyes, if that's the invitation. Number 4, soft, slow, and spacious belly breath. Now, this might be associated particular to your yoga practice. Again, similar to closing your eyes at the beginning of the practice, this might be something you're like, oh yeah, like I know I need to take soft, slow, and spacious belly breaths. But I believe that breathing in this way is always helpful. I don't only believe it, I know it. It's a fact. So why not bring it into any somatic practice you're exploring? Whether you're knitting, meditating, painting, dancing, or practicing a protection spell, all will benefit from inviting in a slow, soft, and spacious belly breath. I'm trying to give you a lot of 3S things to remember. To breathe in this way is the single most helpful way to stimulate your vagus nerve, the most important nerve in your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. Number 5, give yourself permission to be your own guide. I would say that this is the most important one. What you're really creating a foundation for here is creating safety and comfort in your body in order to be able to listen to and trust your own intuitive body within the context of somatic practices. I'm going to say that again because these are important words. What we're really creating a foundation for here is creating safety and comfort in your body in order for you to be able to listen to and trust your own intuitive body within the context of somatic practices. You are a feeler. You are highly sensitive. You are maybe empathic. You are creative. You are earth-loving. You are in tune with sensations. You feel and you notice a lot. And that is a gift. But it's also something that you have maybe been told is something that makes you too much or defective or broken or unable to keep up with the world. But that's wrong. And this space, this community, is here to remind you of the fact that that is wrong. So in order to be able to actually create a foundation for creating safety and comfort in your body, in order for you to be able to listen to and trust your own intuitive body, you need to be on your own side. If you're moving through something that is really new or challenging, I don't only mean workout challenging. It might be challenging learning a new skill. Maybe you're learning to paint flowers for the first time, and that's challenging because you've never done it before. Or committing to a rest schedule. Maybe you're really wired and up here, and your commitment for this season is to rest more, and that's challenging. Or moving through shadow work. And that's challenging for you because you only ever like to look at the light part of yourselves. You need to be your own cheerleader as well as best friend. When things get uncomfortable to the point where you notice yourself feeling unsafe, stop. When things get uncomfortable to the point where you're feeling no longer comforted and supported by your practice, adjust, modify, take a break. When things get uncomfortable to the point where you want to give up, how might you be your best cheerleader here? How might you offer yourself curious and compassionate awareness? You are your best guide. And I am tired of us being told that we don't know what's good for us. Listen and trust in your own wisdom. Okay, so just to recap, to reiterate, this was an episode about moving through and exploring 5 tips on creating safety and comfort in your body within your somatic practices. And those tips were, number 1, create boundaries around your space. Number 2, set up your space. Number 3, acknowledge the space that you're in. Number 4, slow, soft, and spacious belly breath. Number 5, give yourself permission to be your own guide. Maybe some of these are brand new to you and you're like, oh, I'd never really thought of it that way. Or maybe some of these you already implement and you're already really familiar with. I would love to hear more about how comfortable you are with some of these things. Let's continue the conversation. So you are more than welcome to send me an email. If anything, I would love it if you did. And you can join the conversation over on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This has been such a fun little adventure, little journey that we've been on. We're already on episode 4, and I can't wait to share the rest of this season 1 with you. Your support in growing this space, growing this resource so more moonflowers can find the support from it is incredibly helpful. So please rate, give it 5 stars, subscribe to the channel if you're, oh my gosh, that's so funny. You know what? I'm going to keep that in. I'm used to being a YouTuber. So subscribe to the podcast, not the channel. Subscribe to the podcast if you aren't already. And share this episode with a friend who you think might benefit from these 5 tips on creating safety and comfort in your body. Have a wonderful and gentle rest of your day and rest of your week. And I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.